Alright guys, ladies and gentlemen, before we get any further, I want to give you guys just a nice little cheat sheet, just covering all the bases that we need to cover for the Star Wars Holiday Special. We're going to cover the who, what, when, where, and why in this small little section here. So, first question is, who? Who started this? Well, 20th Century Fox and CBS, the broadcasting network, they approached George Lucas. And George Lucas, if you don't know, he's the creator of Star Wars, everything Star Wars. They said they wanted to do a Star Wars holiday TV special. George Lucas was cool with it. He was busy working on the sequel to Star Wars, so he really couldn't be too involved with this thing. But he let the TV studio have full reign of everything. Star Wars characters. So this special starred the majority of the original stars from the first Star Wars movie, but they also had special guests. So these guest stars included B. Arthur, Harvey Korman, Art Carney, and also the rock band Jefferson Starship. What? We are now at the what of the who, what, when, where, and why. The Star Wars Holiday Special was a TV special, and it aired once in the United States. It's a 98-minute long TV special, but with commercials, it was a 2-hour event. And the story is basically about Chewbacca needing to get home to his home planet to celebrate Life Day with his family. And there's just a lot of things happening, problems ensue, and we just have a very fun and crazy time with this story. If we want to go into further about what Life Day is, what Chewbacca and all of the Wookiees celebrate, Life Day is a holiday that all Wookiees must come back to their home planet, Kashyyyk, to celebrate. The celebration of Life Day covers celebrating the lives of all life forms that have come and gone, remembering past family members, and rejoicing in younger family members who have come into their world. Now, this special is basically centered on Chewbacca's family within their house. But within this house, there are screens everywhere that Chewbacca's family watches from time to time throughout this special. What plays on these screens are cooking segments, cartoons, what have you. So these are the ways that the segments within this Star Wars Holiday Special gets implanted into it. So it gives it this very nice variety show feeling. And I say very nice in a very charitable way. So let's just put it at that. All right, so that's the what. Now here's the when and where. It was shown on American television only once. That's all they could take of the Star Wars Holiday Special. It was on Friday, November 17th, 1978, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It wasn't just America who saw it during the premiere. Canada, New Zealand, and also Australia got a nice taste of it as well. It was aired in France on January 1st, 1979, Sweden on May 31st, 1979, and in Ireland on Christmas Day, December 25th, 1979. And the last date that this special was ever shown on Earth was in the countries of Venezuela, Honduras, and Brazil on December 25th, 1981. And now we're at the why. Why was this thing made? Well, it was made to keep people interested in Star Wars. The success from the first movie was big, and they just wanted to keep riding that until the sequel came out a couple years later. So there you go. That's the basic rundown on this thing. And now let's get a little more deeper into the Star Wars Holiday Special. Alright, so we're kicking into the backstory of the Star Wars Holiday Special. It all starts with the original Star Wars movie that was released May 25th, 1977. Back then it was just simply called Star Wars, but since then it's called Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope. After the release in 1977, the rest of the year Star Wars was just everywhere you looked. So, come 1978, it was a new year. George Lucas was feeling the pressure from companies left and right, licensees wanting to have Star Wars themed stuff. 20th Century Fox was wanting something from him right away. You know, you gotta strike while it's hot. George Lucas had one iron in the fire already, which was a large one. It was Empire Strikes Back, the sequel to Star Wars. Right from the get-go, they knew they wanted it to be some kind of variety show thing. So it was intended to have musical performances in it. So come the early months of 1978, two producers along with two other assistant producers were brought on to help with this special. And then Lucas sat down with two writers, Lenny Rips and Pat Proft, to hash out ideas for the story and to write out the script. Now, one of the many ideas George Lucas had for the original Star Wars movie was that the tale, the story of A New Hope, was going to be told from these creatures that are called Wookiees to their children. And they'd just be passing on this story of how Luke Skywalker saved the galaxy. This scrapped movie idea George Lucas had would have the movie open up in the setting of a Wookiee house. And as Lucas developed notes on the Wookiee culture, he created the Wookiee Bible. That was about 50 pages full of notes about everything you ever needed to know about the Wookiees. And if you don't know what a Wookiee is, if you have seen Star Wars, Chewbacca is a Wookiee. Chewbacca, he has fur everywhere, he looks like a walking dog, and he's Han Solo's basically right-hand man and friend. So George Lucas gave the Wookiee Bible to the crew working on this holiday special to know their nuances and their history and base all of their writing from that. So while the show was being written, there was also a cartoon that was going to be shoehorned into this special. The animation company involved with making this cartoon was Canadian cartoon company Nelvana. If you've watched cartoons, you may recognize them as their logo is a polar bear. George Lucas, after being shown their 1976 film A Cosmic Christmas, he hired Nelvana to do this cartoon. In the early months of 1978, the story for the cartoon was shown to George Lucas, and George Lucas helped rework some of the weaker points in the story. In filling in these weaker points, George Lucas introduced the character Boba Fett into the cartoon. It's said that the story with this first outline was a lot better than how it wound up being. It had a different script and everything. But as producers with Lucasfilm and George Lucas himself were busy with the movie Empire Strikes Back, they were attending the meetings for the holiday special less and less, to the point where it was almost the TV producers themselves took charge of the whole deal. So as this special was meant to have musical segments, Gary Smith, the producer, was talking about how this special was going to be a showboat in space type deal. It was then given to Bruce Vilanch to write out and fill in the blanks. Vilanch really didn't know what to write when the entire dialogue was Wookiees that didn't speak English. So this is when all of the variety show segments started making their way into the special. To give the audience some kind of an idea of what was happening within the Wookiee household, Vilanch wrote a character by the name of Son Dan, which wound up being played by Art Carney. Son Dan is a human merchant, and he's a good friend of Chewbacca's family, so that's how he comes into play in the story. Assistant producers Ken and Mitzi Welch then kept rewriting and reworking the script. This is when everything just started going downhill. George Lucas, who was still keeping an eye on the holiday special, said the whole thing started going into bizarre land. Lucas's whole idea on the special was that it was going to be a very heartfelt holiday story. And Ken and Mitzi Welch, they just wanted to make something completely different. And between the Welches and George Lucas, it became this hybrid thing that met in the middle. By May 1978, the early draft was completed and was reworked until a fourth draft was finally done in September. One of the early ideas that got dropped was Luke Skywalker singing a song. So now it's September 1978. The special is going to drop in November, so they had to get to work now with filming the entire thing. The people making the costumes for the Wookiees made sure the masks had major improvements to give more facial expressions. And then George Lucas called David Akumba to direct the special. Akumba directed most of the non-Wookiee scenes, along with the cantina scene as well. It took a full 24 hours to film the cantina scene, from 6 a.m. one day to 6 a.m. the next day. A lot of the characters in this cantina you could recognize from the very first movie. And as this 24 hours of filming took place, a lot of the people inside of these costumes were feeling very claustrophobic and hot. The filming of this scene was miserable for all of these people inside of these costumes, to the point where between filming there was a nurse going out and giving these people air inside of their costumes. Between Akumba being the director and the producers, they just didn't get along. They didn't mesh well, creatively or technically. Akumba came from the background of filming movies and not television shows, so he persisted on filming with just one camera instead of a multiple camera angle setup. And according to Akumba, the plot itself was just enough for an hour-long show, but filming went longer and longer. And as time was getting stretched, the network came in and said, "Oh, well, if we're going over with time, we'll just make it a 2-hour-long special, and that'll give us more spots to put in for advertising." Great! Akumba had enough, and in the middle of filming the Jefferson Starship segment, he just got up and left a producer to take care of directing it instead. The producers saw Akumba having trouble filming the music video, and so he went up to him and he said, "Hey, let me take a shot at it." And then Akumba just said, "Be my guest," and he left right after that. After Akumba's departure, director Steve Binder was asked to come on and fill the shoes of Akumba. Binder took over in September 1978, and the show was in danger of being canceled completely. It was over budget, and only a fourth of the production was actually filmed. Luckily, most of the variety segments were filmed already, which left Binder to take care of the Wookiee household scenes and also the scenes with the original Star Wars cast. Binder was given the Wookiee Bible from George Lucas to read up and know how Chewbacca's family should be acting. Binder then looked at the script and saw that the first 10 minutes of the show was just Wookiees howling at each other. He just shook his head and he knew this was going to be trouble and it was going to be bad. But it was George Lucas's initial idea, so he had no other choice but to just work with what he had. Binder then looked at the set of Chewbacca's house and took a piece of the set away to speed up production time. The people inside of the Wookiee costumes had to be let out every hour for 20 minutes because it was just so hot in those costumes that if you were in there for too long, you would literally suffocate. Patty Maloney, the actress who played as Chewbacca's son, Lumpy, lost 10 pounds from being so hot in the suit. Binder recalls that the most dangerous scene that he directed during this was the stormtrooper going down the stairs, as the stairs were dangerous in themselves, along with the person wearing the suit couldn't see anything. So the stuntman inside of the stormtrooper suit was basically blind running down these stairs. After about a month of filming, they filmed the final shot with all of the cast and extra Wookiees for the Tree of Life celebration scene. This final scene was filmed inside of an aircraft hangar, and at this point, all of the funds for the special had been spent. Being on a shoestring budget, they bought candles and robes from a store down the street, and all of the additional Wookiees in the shot were just given Chewbacca masks with no costumes. So they just wore the Chewbacca mask and then they threw a red robe around them from neck down. As all of the stars were basically begged to appear on the special, Carrie Fisher agreed to be on it as long as she was able to sing. Fisher wanted to show her talent of singing like Joni Mitchell about heartbreak and all things dramatic. So in exchange for having her on the show, they let her sing. Steve Binder said that even though everyone was a pleasure to direct, he didn't really talk to any of the stars. The only exception was that he spent time with Harrison Ford off set, who he said was really cool and focused. Binder said that Carrie Fisher was very easy to direct too, but she wasn't 100% all there during filming. So after a month, all the filming is done and it's time to edit. Binder was wanting to edit it, but due to scheduling, he couldn't, and it was done by the producers who had no editing experience. Sound designer Ben Burt was in charge with creating all of the Wookiee sounds. He was required to have a full hour of Wookiee sounds recorded for the special. So for the sounds of Mala, Chewbacca's wife, and Itchy, Chewbacca's father, he went to Olympic Game Farm and spent days getting sounds from animals. Recordings of black bears were used for Mala's voice, and recordings of grizzly bears were used for Itchy's voice. He also got a recording of a lion eating a cow's head, which this sound effect wound up being used in the movie Alien. After that, Burt then traveled his way to the San Jose Zoo, and he started recording sounds of a baby bear. And these sounds became the voice for Chewbacca's son, Lumpy. So then all of these sounds were brought in during the editing process, and it gave Chewbacca's family voices. So now the Star Wars Holiday Special is complete. November 17th, 1978, it aired in the United States on CBS, and it was estimated to be seen by 13 million viewers. As this special was playing, a new device was being used in some homes to record this special. It's called the VCR, and the VCR hit North America store shelves in the summer of 1977. So luckily, there were people out there recording this Star Wars holiday special on tape, seeing that this special was never ever aired again. This is the whole reason why to this day we're able to see this holiday special in all of its gloriousness. During the 90s, as the internet age became more popular and people were able to connect more, file sharing websites and so on, the Star Wars Holiday Special was easily available to anyone wanting to buy or trade online for it. When the special dropped, Starlog magazine said that the Star Wars Holiday Special was, quote, one of the most ambitious television spectaculars ever attempted by an American network. A book ranking the 100 dumbest events in television history ranked the Star Wars Holiday Special at number 1. And over the years, it's been slammed, it's been criticized, but it is considered part of the official Star Wars timeline. So it is an important piece of Star Wars history. So if you were to follow the complete saga, you gotta watch the holiday special as well. Because if you're gonna go from Episode 4, A New Hope, to Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, without watching this, you're cheating. You're skipping through, and you're not being a true fan. I'm just saying. So keep that in mind.